Hi everyone, Peter here with Dyslexia Connect online tutoring. You can find us at dyslexiaconnect.com. Welcome to another episode of our online dyslexia blog. Today I would like to talk about tips and tricks for helping with reading comprehension. In the last video I talked about comprehension difficulties and some of the different things that tend to cause these difficulties. And today I'd like to give you some suggestions to help improve reading comprehension in children, teenagers, and adults with dyslexia. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to address each of the issues that I mentioned last time and how you can help a dyslexic student improve in those areas. So let's go ahead and get started with that. Last time I talked about one of the main causes of reading comprehension issues being reading accuracy. Poor reading accuracy is a huge problem and it causes all kinds of difficulties with reading comprehension. Now, how can you address this problem? One of the best ways to address reading accuracy is to make sure that the student has been enrolled in a structured reading tutoring program that uses Orton-Gillingham or one of the other closely related methods that is specifically designed for dyslexics, and something that's going to provide a phonics-based approach. In a program like that, the student is going to first of all improve their phonemic awareness. Phonemic awareness is just the knowledge of what sounds that letters and letter combinations make. They're also going to get used to breaking words into syllables and sounding them out, which is going to help them tackle difficult words instead of simply skipping over them or guessing at them or doing the different things that dyslexic students tend to do before they get help with their dyslexia. Also, dyslexic students in a program like this are going to get additional help with tackling nonsense words. One of the things that we use a lot in our online tutoring program are nonsense words because those force the student to sound things out phonetically and use the rules that they're learning to be able to sound out those words. And this is a great help because it helps them build up more and more confidence so that when they start getting into reading sections and they're confronted with a word that's maybe unfamiliar looking or 3 or 4 different syllables long, they can say, wait a minute, I know how to sound this out, I can handle this, no problem. And it's amazing to see with the students who have been in a program like this after a while, how much more confident they get with sounding words out and tackling words that may seem difficult at first or that they never would have even tried to sound out previously. It's pretty remarkable to see that happen. So, getting them in a program like this, a tutoring program that offers Orton-Gillingham or one of the closely related methods, is the best way for helping them to improve reading accuracy because it will give them all those different things that they need to help improve reading accuracy. In addition, a lot of tutoring programs have children read out loud. That's what we do in our online tutoring program. We have them read out loud all the time to make sure that they're reading accurately. And we try to aim for 100% reading accuracy. So if they're reading a comprehension section or a book that we're doing with them, if they're going along and they skip words, they add words that aren't there, they change the tenses of verbs or miss punctuation, we will have them go back and reread that sentence. And if they missed a certain word, we'll have them go back, use the different things they're learning in tutoring to try to sound them out. And by repetitive practice like this, they begin to improve their reading accuracy, and their reading accuracy improves. So, another thing I mentioned in the last video was the issue of poor vocabulary. A lot of students with dyslexia suffer from poor vocabulary at all kinds of different ages. They may be young or teenagers or adults. And specifically, the reading difficulties they often have when they're very young and maybe before they've been diagnosed with dyslexia compound these problems with vocabulary because they don't establish that basic vocabulary core that they need to understand things well in those development stages or when they're going through first grade and second grade and those different ages. So here are a couple of tips to help improve vocabulary. First of all, you can help improve a child's vocabulary simply by having them read out loud. When you have them read out loud, you might get a good sense of sort of what they understand and what they don't understand. Also, if you're working with your child regularly, you'll probably get a good sense of the words that they know and the words that they don't know. And when they get to the end of a sentence, if you're not sure whether they understood what they just said, go ahead and ask them to paraphrase it for you. Ask them to repeat what they just read in different words. And this can be very revealing sometimes because it can tell you whether they understand all the words in that section or not. Also, a good thing to do is just to encourage the student to tell you if they don't understand a word. We always do this in our tutoring program. We tell students up front, if you don't know a word, as simple as it may be, even if you've seen it 1,000 times before, but you just don't really know what it means, just go ahead and ask us. And so we can go ahead and discuss it, and in turn this will improve their reading ability, their reading comprehension ability. Another great thing to do, of course, is use actual reading comprehension exercises that have little vocabulary exercises in them. This is one of the things that we use during our tutoring. We'll have the student read the comprehension section. At the end of it, there'll be a little list of words, and they'll ask them about certain words that were contained in the paragraph or the passage that they were reading. Sometimes these words are in bold in the passage so that they can see them and follow along with them as they're going along. But this way it gets them thinking about the meanings of words and focusing more on what those words say and trying to get a good sense of what those words say. And they can improve their vocabulary that way. You can also do all kinds of fun things. There are vocabulary calendars that you can get that every time you flip to a new day, it's going to teach you a new word. You can make games out of it. You can encourage your children to try different words during the day. If they just learned a new word that day, ask them to see if they can use it 5 or 6 times during the day as that day progresses. And this can be a fun way to do it. It can also lead to a lot of, I guess, silly sentences sometimes, because of course when you first learn a new vocabulary word at any age, you have to learn where it goes, what its exact meaning is, and how to use it in sentences. So this can be kind of a funny thing because they may end up inserting the word in a sentence that it doesn't really make sense in, or it might lead to some alternative meaning that they didn't really mean to aim towards. But these are all good words to practice vocabulary. Another one of the issues I talked about last time was that sometimes dyslexic students do not read for content. So how do we get them in the habit of reading for content? One of the best ways I have found to do this is to have them stop on a regular basis and ask them about what they're reading. If you are using some sort of reading comprehension book, or they're working maybe with sample comprehension tests, very often you're going to have multiple paragraphs in the same passage. One of my favorite ways to help them with this is to stop them at the end of the paragraph, not at the end of the entire passage, but at the end of each paragraph, and ask them, what did that paragraph say? What was the meaning of it? What was the main point, and what did you learn in that? And have them verbally repeat this to you. By doing that, they're going to get in more and more of a habit of thinking, what does this exactly mean? What am I reading here? And if they just don't really know, you can of course have them go back and ask them to find the main point of that paragraph and the primary information that the paragraph gave them. They can go back and say, well, I guess in this paragraph we learned that elephants do this, elephants do that. You can also give them good reminders that often when we're looking for the main point of a paragraph, because paragraphs always have main points, just like reading comprehension passages do, we often find these at the beginning of the paragraph, and sometimes at the end as well, because they might wrap the paragraph up by restating the main point of that paragraph. So by having them stop after each paragraph, you're going to get them in the habit of thinking about what they're reading. Also, it is much less overwhelming than having them just simply go all the way to the end of the passage and then start asking them questions about what they just read. Particularly for a dyslexic student that has trouble with reading comprehension, this can be really overwhelming because suddenly we're asking them about maybe 6, 7, 8, 9 paragraphs, and they may think, oh, I don't remember what I just read. I'm not sure what those different paragraphs said. So by breaking it down, it's going to make the task much more manageable when they have to start answering questions about the entire passage that they just read. And it'll help them do it piece by piece. They'll read the first paragraph and say, no, I think this means that, talk about it. Second paragraph, same thing, third paragraph, and so on. And by the time they get to the end of it, it's going to seem much more manageable. They'll think, oh, okay, yeah, there seems to be a basic structure in the passage and a certain aim. They're gonna pick up more on the structure of the paragraph and what was being presented by that. So that is a great idea and a great way to do things. If a student is still having a lot of difficulty with each paragraph, you can even do this exercise with single sentences. If they've read a sentence and you know this is the main point of this paragraph or main piece of information, go ahead and have them rephrase it for you. Have them respond to that information and rephrase it using their own words. And this is going to get them thinking about the meaning, and it's going to stick with them much better maybe than if they just simply read it and move on. So those are some tips for content. And of course you can use the standard strategies for content as well by having them do reading comprehension sections, asking them about what they read, having them do formal comprehension passages where they have to answer questions. They can do little written responses, writing maybe 1 or 2 sentences. They can answer questions out loud, whichever way you like to do it. Anything that gets them helps them to think about what they've just read. Also, I should mention, you don't even need to have specific comprehension books to do this. You can do this with any book you're reading. Sometimes with our students in our tutoring program, when we're having them doing their reading book at the end of the session, we'll just simply ask them every couple of paragraphs what's going on. And you can make up questions as you go along, like, well, why did this character do this? What happened to this character last page? Well, what's the overall theme of what's going on here? And these are all things that get them thinking about reading comprehension. So the last thing I talked about in the last video was anxiety, and how anxiety can have a negative effect on reading comprehension, because kids with dyslexia can have a lot of baggage when it comes to reading, and they may have a lot of anxiety because they may have felt like they failed a lot in the past. Maybe they were asked to read out loud and they weren't able to do it well, or they were asked to read a passage and respond to it and they just didn't have a good sense of what they had just read. And this can all lead to a lot of anxiety with a dyslexic child. So the best way to address this actually is just to effectively address the other areas I talked about. Once you start to address reading accuracy, poor vocabulary issue, and the issue of reading for content, the anxiety is going to start to go away. It's going to lessen a lot, because as the student gains more confidence and realizes, hey, I can do this, I can definitely succeed in this, I feel like I'm making progress, it leads to a huge change in confidence, and they're going to feel much better about reading, and as a result they're going to have less anxiety when they're reading things and also when they're reading for reading comprehension. And so this problem is naturally going to take care of itself if you take care of those other areas. So thanks for watching today. If you are interested in our online dyslexia tutoring program or would like to check out our other content on our website, you can visit us at www.dyslexiaconnect.com. We're also on Twitter and Facebook. You can find us on there and connect with us on there if you like. If you like our videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way you will receive the additional videos that come out. We release videos on a pretty regular basis. And finally, if you have any comments or questions, please feel free to post them. I always like to respond to your questions and help out in any way I can, so please feel free to post those if you have any. So thanks again for tuning in again today, and I will see you for our next video. Have a good one. Bye-bye.